Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Just Seen Motherfucking Podcast. And today, season 13 still ain't back yet, but as you see, we got an impromptu pop up. This conversation is happening because I was having a conversation with one of my homies and shit, and we was talking about healing, and not only healing, but like quick backtrack. Let me backtrack. So this entire episode is going to be rooted in a phrase that I developed. I had made a thread, a post or whatever, but I had made one like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago or some shit at the time of this recording, in which I said, don't focus on going back to who you were. Like, don't focus on going back to who you were before the wound. Focus on going forward to who you are after the scar. Right. And so me and the homie, we was vibing, we was talking about it, and she was like, getting back to who she was before that. And I was like, in the moment, it just like kind of hit. I was like, what if that's the problem? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm even rationalizing it for myself, because I'm like, what if that's the problem? Like, you're trying to go back to who you were before that happened. In order for that to even be viable, you would have to erase what happened, and you can't. So it's like, when I thought about that quote that I said, it was like, who are you after the scar? You feel what I'm saying? Because it's like, we got into the layers of talking about like creativity and shit. And it was like, I want to go back to the creativity I had before that. And I was like, and I just, started thinking about it, and which is what created this episode. I was like, what if, like, just hypothetically, like, what if you're supposed to create a new creativity? Like, what if this is a new creative energy in you? Like, what you were before is like, the same animal, but same beast, but a different animal type shit. And then it got me wondering, it's like, which is why the episode even became the title what it is. What is the life after the scar? How do you create the life after the scar? Is there life after the scar, or is there constant bombardment of the remembrance of the past? And so that conversation sparked something different within me, which is ultimately going to create this episode, because I'm like, even in myself, I'm at an impasse, because I'm like, with my old page getting shut down, like the way in which my entrepreneurship started and everything, it's like I was trying to fit into a mold that was a part of who I was and where I was before the wound happened. And by this particular wound, I'm talking about, losing my social media page, that first one and shit. But it's like, who am I after that? Like, I can't, excuse me. Like, trying to go back into the social media space in the same way that got my page shut down is like, it's likely going to get my page shut down again, for one. But it's like, how do you maneuver? And it's like, this is how I'm processing. It's like, yo, what do I maneuver with in the first, aspect of this new, development of this new page and building that shit and everything like that. So I'm looking at it like, okay, what's different now? Even down to, getting into my music again. It's like, damn, I used to have a pen that was this, that, and the third, when I was like, but it's like, I can't talk about that shit no more. Like, I can, but I can't. It's like, it no longer feels right, because it's like, I now have to speak from the scar, not who I was before the wound. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep using the scar and the wound, whether I'm talking about being scarred or wound or not, because it's like, we all go through some shit in our lives that it changes us, and it changes us in such a way that we can only navigate with the change. And sometimes because we've navigated, because of how good life was, or how peaceful life was, or how, because of the positivity of which life was before we even got derailed and moved into the change, it's like we want to go back to that, but we can't. We have to learn how to operate in a space with that, with the healing of that, with the development of that. And it kind of made me, look at myself on a multitude of ways, like I said, from just from the two perspectives of my music and, the social media page, like building that going forward. It's like, I'm trying to remember what it was like before the wound. It's like, you can't. Like, that's the purpose of the wound. Now you have to create what it's supposed to be like after the scar. You feel what I'm saying? So there was a lot of transitions that I had to make. Like I would still want to use the carousels and, yeah, let me post these carousels, these words and shit. People going like, that's obsolete. That's obsolete now. And trying to go back into who you were before all of that, it wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? And it was becoming, frustrating, even tying it into the music. I'm looking at it from that perspective. Like, okay, I don't want to be, too far off because I got to dumb it down. It's like, yo, fuck that. You didn't experience all this life not to talk about it, how you want to talk about it, the way you want to talk about it, to the depths that you want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of just put things into perspective for me. It's like, we're in a bubble where people want you to be, we're in a bubble. People always want you to either return back to who you were, to who you was, or stay the same and not actually who you're supposed to be after the growth, after whatever the situation was that evolved you and changed you. So that's kind of the space that I'm in with that. And it was like, why not do a podcast episode with it? Because it's a conversation that needs to be had, because I know a lot of people who are in that space, and it's not just my homie. She was just the catalyst for this conversation because it made me look at so many people who are stuck trying to go back to who they were before the wound, and they're having difficulty going forward to who they're supposed to be after the scar. But before we dive heavy into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Seen the Griot. Be sure to check out my website at IamJustSeen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor to the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of the podcast. Not the episode, but the podcast itself. Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And you know the vibes. That's that for this, and that's this for that. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into impromptu pop-ups, whatever the fuck number I'm on right now. Life after scars. And don't forget to visit IamJustSeen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So For Real series to your library? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit IamJustSeen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit IamJustSeen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at IamJustSeen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit IamJustSeen.com. All right. Welcome back. Ow. And without further ado, let's, go ahead and hop into this motherfucker, bruh. So, off rip, Life After Scars, or Life After Scar, whatever. The title's up by now. But sometimes, like, when we go through life, and this is the thing. Wow. This is about to be a crazy download. But something that I've learned is that, and I learned this from, talking to inmates and shit who, did prison time and shit, but then I, just hearing certain shit and experiencing certain people. It's like the age you go in is the age you come out. No matter what time you get, the age in which you go in is the age in which you come out. And I was trying to understand that, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, how does that happen? Because the trauma shuts you down. I never realized that. And this is where we're going to get into trauma and euphoria as a whole. Because y'all know from So For Real 3 and just the way in which I speak on shit, like the dualities of the chakras and shit, trauma and euphoria are the two impetuses that push us forward. Because even if we're looking at it from the chakras perspective, right, you have joy and pain, and then which develop your personal identity, right? Trauma sends you backwards. Euphoria sends you forward. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say that again. Trauma sends you backwards. Euphoria sends you forward. Because we're constantly in a traumatic space, we always regress backwards. Euphoria leads to progression. Trauma leads to regression. Let that be the tone for what I'm talking about, because now tie that into the overall meaning, the post that I was talking about, where I was saying we try so hard to go back to who we were before the wound that we aren't able to go forward to who we are before after the scar, because this takes into understanding euphoria, which means that we have to understand joy, which now leads into where we talk about the heart chakra shit, where it's like, heart chakra is, love. That's where love sits, but it's also where hate sits. And you know how I identify love as the power for betterment through correction, which will make hate the power for detriment through incorrection. You feel what I'm saying? So when we get to a space where where the trauma that we're dealing with constantly makes us regress or stagnate, it doesn't allow us to move beyond the scar because we keep trying to go before the wound. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying with the inmates, they were saying like the age you are when you go in is the age you are when you come out. Forget what happens when you go in, because like mentally you're stuck there because the trauma got you stuck there. You know what I'm saying? Even on a subtle level, when we experience trauma, we fall into the fetal position. That's wild when you really think about it. Just from considering what we're talking about now, that's wild when you really think about it. When you experience a traumatic experience, you fall into the fetal position. That's wild. Because it's a level of regression because it's safety. Your mind is literally processing, I'm going back to a moment before the wound. I'm going back to a moment when I'm safe. I'm going back to a moment before all of this. And it can leave you stuck there. You feel me? It can literally leave you stuck there. So by that same token, because the opposite sides of the same coin, euphoria will be what allows you to move forward after the scar. Or after the wound, create the scar and move forward after that. So you have the wound and you have the scar, but now you're trying to move forward after that. So what do you do when the world teaches you, get back to you, get back to you, get back to you? If I can just get back to the real version of myself, it's gone. It's gone. This is something that I learned about the heroes and villains and shit. Like, a villain ain't really a bad guy. Like, a villain is a person who doesn't go back to who they were before. You feel me? Some do. But usually it's the hero who ends up going back to who they were before the problem. That's why they can't get through the wall. Case in point, Batman. Batman can't let go of the fact that his parents got killed. Like, he always wants to go back to that. You see what I'm saying? And it causes him to be in a certain space. Joker, on the other hand, I don't know if they mentioned it in The Dark Knight, but I did see a movie where, like an animated movie where Joker's wife got killed by some loan sharks or some fucked him up, and it made him, but Joker was able to get past the wound. And this is where it now comes into how you're going to develop, because a lot of times when we try to go back to who we were before that, it's like, who were we? Who were we? Because I've learned, just from my own personal perspective and experience, it's like trying to go back to who you were before the wound. Just it reveals that you want to go back to a level of weakness. You don't necessarily want to traverse the planes to go forward into the strength. This isn't to call you weak. This isn't to call you soft pussy or none of that other shit. This is to say, when you are traumatized, when you go through something, when you are hurt, when you are like whatever, you want to go back to that moment prior. But that's impossible to do. So imagine you get into a mind state where you're constantly trying to return to something that no longer exists. How do you function with that? That it starts to walk you into, and I realized, let me slow down. This is why traumatic experiences are so tied to mental health. This is why your mental health is so affected negatively when you're traumatized, because you're trying to go back to worlds that don't exist, and they don't exist because of the trauma. And it's like every time you try to go back, it's going to happen again. Like you're reminded why you need to go forward. But it's easier to go back because now you're searching for a moment before all of that. And it just doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? I remember I used to hear people say, yeah, man, they gonna make me go back to the old me. And then I created a philosophy, but I was like, nah, y'all niggas gonna make me go forward to the new me. I can't go back to the old me. I didn't realize the missing piece with that was the healing of This had to happen. Now I have to incorporate this into my life. I can't erase it. I can't get rid of it. I can't go back to the times when, when we used to play as kids, but things changed and that's the way it is. I can't go back to those things. I have to go forward with those things. You see what I'm saying? Now, when we decide, okay, look, I'm going to go backwards. I want to go back to the moments before all of this happened, because we want things like, I want that peace. I want that joy. I want those feelings. I want that tranquility. I want all of those things that I had before this moment happened. But we're not even privy to the idea that you're supposed to go forward without them. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard. But this now ties into chakra shit. You feel me? I get it. If y'all are some of the heavily religious people who, chakras are demonic, by all means, take it how you want to take it. Right? But the crown chakra, which is wild, because the crown chakra is Christ consciousness, Mashiach energy. I got episodes on deck for that. But the crown chakra is blocked by earthly attachment. Unblocking that chakra for myself, going through the tree of life, actually getting to that point of getting to that level. Because when I first got woke, like, this is a tangent. I'm gonna get back on track, but we're gonna flow. When I started studying the chakras and shit, motherfuckers, like, I actually studied the chakras. I went in to see what they were. I know how they connected to the nervous system. I know a whole bunch of things. So when I was doing my ascension, like, I want to get to the crown chakra and shit. It's like, yo, it's earthly attachment, my nigga. Like, you gotta let go of shit. You gotta let go. This is why I also mentioned the heart chakra too, because it's like, it's hard to let go of what you're grieving for. You see what I'm saying? If you can't let go of what you're grieving for, that means the heart chakra, the brow chakra, the throat chakra, and the crown chakra are all blocked. Now it's like, yo, I don't want to let go. Because are you saying that I should forget? No. It don't go nowhere. It don't. Like, as somebody who's gotten to that point, I understand now. Oh, you don't forget. It don't go nowhere. You just no longer have the attachment to it. And because the attachment to it is to the trauma that it gave you, which makes you want to regress and go backwards. So now the chakras, although they say, people say they're blocked, they may be blocked by things, but they're always active. And I'm going to say that because you will always still operate on your Christ consciousness no matter what. You feel what I'm saying? It's not one nigga that gets Christ consciousness and makes the world a better place. No, everybody has it. But it always be limited by what you're attached to. And when you're attached to the trauma, and it makes you regress and your mind is always wired to wanting or needing to go back to the time before, you'll never get to the Christ consciousness to use it to the times after. You feel what I'm saying? You have your moments where this can make you laugh and this give you joy, but it's like, are you tapping into those without having to constantly regress back to the trauma? And by regressing back to the trauma, thus trying to regress back to a moment that no longer exists. You cease to exist when you constantly try to regress back to a moment that doesn't exist. And by ceasing to exist, you stop living and you merely exist in this world. You feel what I'm saying? That's why that shit is all important. But in uncovering the chakras and actually getting to that point of learning them and learning that there's an earthly attachment that we all have, the earthly attachment is really like earthly attachment is the inability. It gives you the limitation that you're not able to let go. So you're not going to move on. You feel what I'm saying? There's things you are supposed to hold on to, but there's things that you're supposed to let go of. And this is where, when you get to that chakra energy, you learn the difference between connection and attachment. And you can connect when you need to, but you're not bound to it as an attachment, right? And again, the reason why I'm saying this is because once we're in a space, and this is why I mentioned mental health with the trauma and all of this shit and earthly attachments, all of that. We're in a space where the human is a resource. It would behoove the people that use humans as their resource to back their currency, Americans, to make sure the mental health is always fucked up. If I know that trauma makes you regress, if trauma makes you regress or want to regress to a time before the trauma, I'm going to continually traumatize you to make you stay there. To put things into perspective and context, because I know a lot of times when I be talking about shit, I make it so simplistic that motherfuckers be like, oh, yo, you reaching and you think you smart. Nah, nigga, I know that I'm smart. I'm highly intelligent, bro. I am highly intelligent. And it's not like me trying to shit on niggas and none of that shit. I just am, bro. It is what it is. But when I say simple shit, it's like, there's no way you could break. Like, it is. It is. But I say this shit and motherfuckers want to challenge it. And then when I start going down the rabbit hole with them, it's like, I never thought. I know. But yet you've been arguing me this whole motherfucking time as if you did think about it the way that I'm thinking about it, because you didn't know how I thought about it. But I digressed. When we are tapped in and we're looking at how the United States works, it continually traumatizes its people. Why? Because if I can get you to constantly stay in a state of regression, you'll never mature. You'll never get to the euphoria where you can move beyond and move through life as if you're scarred. You're always going to move as if you're wounded. Right? Here's why I said that I'm going to put things into perspective. And this is going to be like, damn, this is a layered cake. It is a layered cake, but this is literally only one fucking thread to this entire web. In just perspective, the average adult American doesn't read beyond a 6th grade level. The average adult American doesn't read beyond the 6th grade level. 6th graders are usually 11 to 12-year-olds, right? Incidentally, once we go to middle school, for some reason, a lot of us have arrested development where we have trauma in middle school. Whether that be bullied, whether that be humiliated, whether that be picked on, ridiculed, whatever the case may be, some kind of trauma is there and it bombards us for the duration through middle school. Some niggas grow up, I had to have a glow up or whatever the case may be. Imagine your glow up happening, but you was in that arrested development for 10, 15, 20 years prior. And your trauma was you never gained euphoria to move forward. Because now when we look at what they did in middle school, status was created, hierarchy was established, motherfucking beauty standards, all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, humiliation, whether you could fight, all of this shit. There's a lot of shit that was established in middle school. And a lot of us are stuck there. So now we like, why? What is it that, you know, the average American can't? Nah, the average American still comprehends like a traumatized 12-year-old. And they constantly regress. It doesn't matter how many words you read or whatever the case may be, they're still traumatized like that. Because this is a society that says, I want a society in the system. I was merging the words. I don't know why. But the society tells you, I want to be able to use humans as a resource to back my currency. That's why the US dollar doesn't fall, my nigga. Like, we be thinking it's about oil, nigga. Oil is just to make, because oil is the resource that everybody else uses. We control the oil reserve, so that way we can preserve the human resource. It's a buffer. We make them fight over the oil. We have humans as our currency, as the backing of our currency. Specifically, we have the health of the people, right? I'm going to make sure you do not extend beyond a 12-year-old. I don't give a fuck if you go to high school, college, or whatever the case may be. I still already fucked with your mental. I still already fucked with you to the point where you're going to go through these phases as this middle school person. Emotionally, right? Energetically. That's what you're going to do. You can get as smart as you want. You're just a smart 12-year-old. Because the way in which your trauma is, unless you heal that trauma, you're going to be stuck there. How you are when you go in is how you are when you come out. And now we look at prisons, you know, I've been institutionalized. And you don't realize that a college institution doesn't do the same thing. A high school institutionalization comes from institutions. It's simple. It's right there. But it's hard to understand, especially if you understanding it like you're a fucking 12-year-old. You feel me? You have to be told everything exact. You're not going to be able to see the nuance of context and be able to dive deeper into it. But I said that because when I was in the 6th grade, I'm quote unquote, I'm a millennial. But when I was in the 6th grade, that's when the World Trade Centers got hit. Every year, 9/11, never forget, remember. Where were you when this happened? Where were you? Relive your trauma. Relive your trauma. We be thinking like right now we're experiencing like these are the rituals that the Americans in the United States do. These are traumatic rituals, right? So now I was making a post. This was I don't even know, it was a couple weeks ago or whatever, but I was saying whatever ritual they need black people for is big. Because they need that trauma to make us regress back to a certain, they need us to regress back to something. You feel me? And we won't get in those streets to protest. We won't do anything. And they are now desperate because they need energy. They need whatever energy that we're supposed to give them or what they need to fuel their rituals, right? Because all of their rituals are death rituals for a reason, because it's designed to make you regress. Do you feel what I'm saying? You don't have to believe it. You don't have to understand it. Just observe what the fuck is happening. Ever so often, the biggest one, the one that really shaped everything that I feel, and they needed to do this one was, of course, COVID. But prior to that, 2015 to 2020, 2015 to 2020, we were on the verge. We were on the brink of a new renaissance. Now, the Harlem Renaissance in the early 1900s, that was one thing, right? Because that was just in Harlem. But it was just in Harlem in the context that we didn't have social media. We didn't have nothing. But we knew about the Harlem Renaissance. It spread differently. There were other renaissances as well. But when you can confine it to a single area, it makes it easier to understand. Between 2015 and 2020, we were having a renaissance. We were in real time having a renaissance, my nigga. And it wasn't just a confined area as Harlem or LA. No, nigga, because social media had got involved. It was across the entire country. Specifically, when we talking about, the idea of that time between 2015, it was black people. We were only calling ourselves kings, queens, gods, and goddesses. That was powerful. That was powerful as fuck. Kings, queens, gods, and goddesses. No matter how much we see when we seen Corrine Gaines get shot, we seen Sandra Bland, we seen George Floyd, we seen Eric Garner, we seen motherfucking Darren Seals. We seen so many of us keep getting killed through this process, and it didn't regress us. They were losing the power. They were like, oh shit, this is different. Lynchings are rituals. Lynchings are rituals to generate the trauma to make you regress back to the state they need you to regress back to. You feel what I'm saying? Because we know you're not going to heal to create a scar for this shit. We know that you're going to stay traumatized to the wound. So you'll always have to go back to that trauma. You always go back to the trauma that'll keep you locked in where you are. Do you feel what I'm saying? Between 2015 and 20, we was calling ourselves 19. Because we were calling ourselves gods and goddesses, kings and queens. We were talking about things like nation building, like, consolidating the black dollar. There was a lot of shit that I have no conversations on going on right now. We back to talking about religion again. In my jam session, King's Vizier, I say, gods are back to niggas, goddesses are back to bitches now. Went from nation building down to splitting bills within the house. How the mighty have fallen is kind of appalling, but rather appealing depending on which side of the feeling you're on. The reason why we can continue to see, why do they kill us? Why do they keep fucking with us? They need you traumatized to make sure that you do not progress. Trauma leads to regression. Euphoria leads to progression. When you are able to be in a space of euphoria, which is joy, you can progress. You can't progress if you're traumatized. You feel what I'm saying? You cannot progress if you're traumatized. We're going to make sure you stay traumatized. We're going to you're going to put your people dying all down your news feeds. Like, who really wants, it's weird. It's weird because now we look at social media and it's like, I can say motherfuckers. And I ain't even got to say the whole motherfucker. I just put MFS in the caption. And I'll get a notification that this looks like posts that have been reported. But they can literally post us being shot black people being shot in the fucking streets, and it doesn't go against community guidelines. Nigga, how? Because it's social media. It's media. This is why words are very, very important. They don't lie to you. They just don't tell you the truth. Media also comes from the root that media stems from the same root as medium. What is a medium? What is a medium? A medium, in the spiritual sense, it serves as a conduit between two sources, right? So when we have social media, these are social mediums that are now being filtered to our mentality every single day. So now we know that a medium, quote unquote, serves between us and the spiritual side. So now we're looking at spirituality a whole different way. They tapped into spirituality in ways that we don't even fathom right now. But now we look at the media, right? It's always been this way. They're always going to program you, right? You're always going to see some kind of negative stigma of yourself. You're always going to see some kind of programming or whatever. No matter how far ahead you get, you're always going to be reminded to regress. You're always going to be reminded to regress, because when we need you to regress, we're going to generate the trauma. We're going to elicit the trauma to make you regress. So when we look at what was happening in 2015 to 2019, that little Renaissance era, we was booming. Entrepreneurship, everything. What happened right after that? COVID. I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se, nigga, but I'm just saying it's coincidental. It's coincidental because when we talking about how did we go from in 2015 to 2019, we were having the same connection that Marcus Garvey was having in UNIA. I put that in King's Vizier as well. 2015 to 2019, there was no diaspora wars. There was no diaspora wars. There was none of those. We was connecting with Ghana. We was connecting with Africa. We was connecting with the islands. We was connecting with all these places. All of the bullshit that we keep seeing going on right now wasn't happening between 2015, 2019. I know, because so much so, I have connected with people who live currently in Africa and taught them trading and investing. They have enrolled in my Mastering the Market course from Africa. I have like 2 or 3 students specifically that I can recall off head. They from Africa, my nigga. And I'm saying that because it's like there's that divide that they had. It didn't come until after COVID hit. Trauma makes you regress. Trauma makes you regress. You dig what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden COVID's over. Niggas got vaccinated. I got an episode on the COVID shit, so I ain't gonna say too much about that shit, but there is something in the enzyme. There is an enzyme in the motherfucking shot that eats away at the frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is important because your frontal lobe is supposed to be fully developed at 25. Again, another form of regression. They had that shit eating your shit away. We get on social media and shit. We like, yo, did niggas always get this stupid? No. They had time to mature. A lot of the people that you don't know, you want to know if a motherfucker really got. You can tell if a motherfucker got vaccinated or not. Look at how they respond. Study the frontal lobe and look at the behaviors of people currently. And you'll see, oh yeah, nigga, you act like you about 23, 24 again. 19 even. Because it's regressing. But I digress. I got to talk about the progress in addition to the regress. Words. But when we look at it from that perspective, it gets bigger. Because it's like right after that, now they locked us in the house, cabin fever. We chilling. Then they come out. What's the first thing? Why did they bring Trump in? Oh, racism, this, that, and the third. We need niggas. We need niggas. That's it. Whatever magic rituals we got to do, we need niggas. But we need traumatized niggas, bro. Why? Because traumatized niggas always regress. They always regress. Traumatized humans regress as a whole, but traumatized niggas are going to regress, bro. They're going to go back to a time when they feel safe. We've never felt safe, my nigga. So if as black people, our trauma that has to make us regress, where do we start at? Now, I like to use this example. I'm gonna stay on, it's still on topic, but I like to use this example. Vince Staples was talking about like hip hop. And it was like, yo, when did you fall in love with hip hop? I ain't fall in love with hip hop. Hip hop was always around. It's not something I had to fall in love with. You feel what I'm saying? There's people like, I was watching the episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because Carlton grew up in Bel-Air, not the new one, the old one, when they were driving the car and shit and they told him to get out or whatever. And Carlton was oblivious to his blackness in the context of what it is. So if you've seen the episode, they were driving the Benz or whatever the case may be, and he makes Carlton get out the car, blah, 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 they get locked up. Uncle Phil knows what's up. Aunt Viv know what's up. Will know what's up. Carlton don't get it. He don't get it. So the reason why I'm saying that is because when did you have your experience that you knew you were black? For some of us, we always knew we were black. And if you're listening and you're confused as to what I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about. But if you're listening and you understand exactly what I'm talking about, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. You feel me? That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Some of us have always known we were black. Some of us had to be introduced to our blackness. Light nigga, dark nigga, faux nigga, real nigga, rich nigga, po nigga, house nigga, field nigga, still nigga. Tying that back to the episode prior when I was talking about thinking white and I mentioned the hair and all of that shit, like it ties into this. You still nigga, bro. They're still going to despise you for a bigger thing. Doesn't matter what your status is, my nigga. You still a nigga. And they're going to remind you of your blackness all the time. When you guys collectively stop forgetting you're black, we're going to remind you and send you back. This is where you have the levels. Some people say this is why they say black isn't monolithic, but they treat it monolithically. So you have the hood, you have the suburbs, you have, I guess, upper crust. That's what Alisa D call it, upper crust. But you had those different levels and shit. But somehow we all end up going back to the hood, start thinking like the people in the hood. We start going back when trauma hits. Why? You don't think that's not an accident, nigga? Like, that's a programming. Like, we be thinking mind control is these niggas got to have a fucking tinfoil hat on you and shit and hook you up to wires. No, nigga, they got to traumatize you back to regression. And then they can control you however the fuck they want to control you. It amazes me. I promise you, between 2015 and 2019, there was so much black unity, black love, like motherfuckers love. Like, I promise you, I don't know I don't know what happened. Once COVID hit, after that, now we're back here where black women and black men are at war again. We have diaspora wars in a 4-year time, from a 4-year window from 2015 to 2019. And we're now in 2026. It's been erased. All because they use COVID to keep niggas in the house. And the reason why I'm saying this is because it's like, well, seeing that might be a reach. I don't think COVID. I'm just saying, nigga, you go back to 1917 when Marcus Garvey was starting the UNIA. The Spanish flu started in 1918. And the UNIA disappeared right after that. I'm just saying, they call me neurodivergent and shit. They call whatever. Nigga, this pattern recognition, nigga. I know their patterns. I know their patterns because I understand these people. And I understand these people as, if you want to love, if you really want to get to start loving yourself, understand why your enemy hates you. And love everything about what they hate. That's it. It's not hard. We want to be accepted. We want them to stop hating us. I don't want you to stop hating me. I want to love why you hate me. I'm going to love why you hate me. When I learn why you hate me, it makes me that much more sharper. Because I know why you're my enemy. And you don't know why you're mine. You know what I'm saying? Because then you get into the genetics. You get into these different things. And you get to the point where you can see the scar. You like how I flipped that shit. I know it seems like I'm all over the place. I'm really not. It's just a download. You feel me? That was a scar that I had to actually develop from the wound of, oh, this is white supremacy. This, and the third. They're trying to kill us and all of this shit. We know. Now, are you going to continue to try to go back? There is never a time that you can go back to. They control the history. As you go back, what do you get to? Oh, we were slaves. That's where that's where the trauma always restarts you at. Slavery. Fucking slavery, nigga. Christianity. You feel me? I be having arguments with niggas and shit when I be like, yo, that wasn't our shit, bro. Well, they had the Ethiopian Bible, nigga. Do you know why? Do you know how the Ethiopians got the Bible? Well, no, the Ethiopian Bible is the first one. And then you have talking points, but you don't have knowledge. You don't have experience. And you don't have wisdom with what you're talking about. Because then when I start talking about Frumentius and Arius, and they're like, wait, what? Yeah, Frumentius, Ethiopia they weren't Christians until Frumentius went in there after the Council of Nicaea. He was one of the first people that actually put the Bible into the Ethiopians, and they rewrote it. They rewrote the New Testament. Just look it up. It's right there. Like, all this information is there. How the fuck can y'all not find it? You're not looking because you don't know what to look for. So now when they traumatize you, you make you go back and you say, yo, get this motherfucker his religion back. You think the religion is the white man's, but Ethiopians have the Bible. Do you know what an Ethiopian is? Do you know what the Ethiopians are and why they ended up with it? You feel me? Look up Axiom, the king of Axiom. Look up the king of Axiom and Frumentius. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see. That's what I start doing when I be on threads and shit. I say shit, and then motherfuckers be like, "Case in point." I'm gonna get back on point. But I was having a conversation. Somebody had asked, "Why aren't black men's voices as deep as they used to be?" Why aren't black men's voices as deep as they used to be? Why aren't black men's voices as deep as they used to be? Y'all understand that sentence, right? You understand it. I respond and I say, they aren't as deep. I said cereal. I said, there was a guy named Dr. Kellogg. I got a podcast episode on this, but I was like, there's a guy named Dr. Kellogg. And he said, testosterone needs to be reduced in men. We know that testosterone in puberty is what leads to the deeper voices. So I was like, cereal. Somebody comments, I'm not going to say her name, whatever. She comments, said, nigga, what? I said, I thought I was pretty clear in explaining it, but let me do it again just because. I said, Dr. Kellogg went, and I told exactly what it was. And she was like, but I still know black men with deep voice. I said, because the conversation is, why aren't men's voices as deep as they once were? But I know men with deep voices. I never said that the voices aren't deep. I said they're not deep as they used to be. This is why in the post, Shorty's response was like Barry White deep. We don't have any men whose voices are like Barry White deep on a regular basis no more. So she was like, so I'm explaining this and I'm like, I don't know how else to get you to understand it. Like you're trying to make it. And she didn't respond back. Like after the shit got clarified and people started liking my final, and then she was like, she just didn't respond back. And it's like, why do we do this? Why do we do this? Because we still think like 12-year-olds, still think like traumatized 12-year-olds. Because the average reading level is at 54% for adults between the ages of 16 and 76 years old. That's the average reading level. Why? Because we're going to make sure you stay traumatized like a teenager. So everything that you do when you learn everything that you learn, every filter, every way that you respond is going to be as if you're 11 to 12 years old. I did a dramatic pause with that because now as I'm going forward and I'm trying to make these connections, it's like, this is what you got to deal with on social media. This is what you have to deal with. People that constantly go backwards with the shit. So now here's another layer to that trauma response. Anytime a black man says anything, now we go back to the diaspora wars. I can't say shit on social media without being insulted by black women. Because I have the scar and not the wound. I'm like, I know why you doing what you doing, yo. So I'm not going to be an asshole to you because you still a black woman, despite you being an asshole to me. I made another post where I said, black women are not protected because black boys are not respected. Niggas went crazy. You niggas can't fight. You niggas is scary. You niggas is this. You niggas is that. I'm talking about the boys, homie. It's a cause and effect thing. If we continue to disrespect our boys, we get the shit that we get right now. I'm trying to fix the problem, let y'all know what the problem is. Y'all are too traumatized to see it. Because anytime a black man says anything, because now, this goes all the way back to when they shut the shit down. Anytime a black man says anything that includes black women have it's a trigger. It's a switch. It's a switch. I mean, nigga, when I say it's a switch, and you shut down, you automatically see the negative. I made another post where I was saying men are emotionally unavailable. Women are emotionally retarded. But we only address the unavailability when it comes to emotional intelligence. Motherfuckers talking about, oh, mansplaining, this, that, and the third, got upset again. I'm like, I'm like, all right, that's cool. I get you. But you show your emotional retardation. And to retard something, for something to be retarded, means that it's limited in growth. Unavailability is completely absent. Retardation is limited in growth. So even if I'm saying that men don't have it, y'all at least have it a little bit, you're just using it wrong. You feel me? But we only address the motherfuckers who don't have it, which is crazy. You feel me? But now it ties in because the trauma is always there repetitively. You know what I'm saying? To where now, anytime a black man says the words black woman are triggered negatively. I've had so many conversations where niggas like, yo, you handle that shit well, because I know why she upset. I know why she angry. I know why she take it the wrong way. And by the end of the conversation, it's like, I didn't know you was coming from that way. Why? You know what? I thought this was going to go a whole different way, but I appreciate you for doing this and the third. Why? Why did you start off like that? Why did you start off like that? These wars that we got going back and forth is traumatized shit. Because we keep regressing back to pain. We keep regressing back to trauma. We keep regressing because we're triggered. We're not healing. We're not moving forward into euphoria. Therapy ain't working for niggas, bro. Therapy ain't working for niggas. It's making niggas comfortable in their trauma. I'm going to keep it for real for what it is. When we look at the boom, there's almost, and now, this right here now ties into it a little bit deeper. That same time between 2015 and 2019, motherfuckers was like getting into therapy and all of that shit like that. This has been the highest amount of people who's been in therapy from 2019 up until 2000 to now. Black people in therapy has greatly increased, and somehow our mental health is getting worse. We have the greatest pharmaceutical drugs in the world, but somehow the people are still sick. But when I tell people that the United States dollar is backed by the health of the people, niggas be thinking that I'm tripping. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's coincidental. It's coincidental that as the therapy booms, as we start to get involved in therapy more, as we start to find therapists going from 2015 to 2019, when we go from pro-black and we loving each other, calling each other gods, goddesses, kings and queens, to now we can't even be around each other, but therapy increased. What are these therapists doing to us as a people? They're making sure that we stay in our regression, because now our women hate each other. Our women hate us. Our men hate our women. And we not right no more, bro. We not right. But therapy's up. Therapy's up. So much so that everybody got a mental health issue now. Everybody's neurodivergent. Everybody's autistic. Everybody got something wrong with them now that they never had before. And they're voluntarily just, yo, I got ADHD, I'm autistic, I'm all DHD, I'm neurodivergent, I'm all of this. You're fucking normal, nigga. You're fucking normal. And they're trying to make you neurotypical, and it doesn't work. Neurotypical is a well-programmed machine. That's not a flex. Neurodivergents are the real humans, nigga, that can't be programmed, but you could be drugged. You could be drugged. There's like all of that shit. Like, I promise you, in 2015, 2019, niggas wasn't calling them, like, there was like, that term wasn't even around yet. That shit popped up that shit popped up during the pandemic, bro. Let's keep it a bean. I'm not saying that they don't have documentations or books or whatever the case may be, but the popularity of what we experiencing now, neurodivergent, nigga, that shit didn't start until after during and after the pandemic. Why? We got a specific label for niggas, and now niggas just, the shit is so fucked up, you don't even know who's really human or not anymore. And I mean that in the realest way possible, because looking on social media, you don't know who's a bot. You don't know who's actually human, but yet you're going to take advice from these niggas and shit. Because they're like you. Go back to the trauma. Now we go back to the middle school trauma and shit. Now you're looking for the senses of belonging. You're looking for a group to belong to, looking for friends. You're looking for your niche. Nobody can stand out anymore because you're traumatized. And we're going to keep traumatizing you to make you regress back to when you were 11 to 12 years old. That's crazy. That's crazy. Because when we can make People that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s regress back to 12-year-olds. They spend money. They move the markets. Oh, don't vote for Trump. Don't vote for Trump because he's racist and shit like this. It's like, my thing is this. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. When I learned the first time he got elected, I started to look at it differently. I like, we pick and choose. Like, the United States of America is a corporation and a country. It's a business and a country. The United States is the business. America is the country. You feel me? United States is the business. America is the country. Democrats represent the country. Republicans represent the business. When the business is bad, you have to put Republicans back in. How does the business get fucked up? Because the people, the country starts fucking up. The business starts to go bad when the Democrats are running. Incidentally, that's, oh, we got a good economy now. It's semantics, but it plays around. When the Democrats are in, we have a good economy. Why? Because the Democrats cater to the country. The country is the people. The people are comfortable spending now. But because they're comfortable spending and we're in a world of consumers, they overspend. They overspend. And they overconsume because it's gluttony. The Republicans have to come back in to cut shit, to start trimming the fat to make sure the balance sheets work again. It's business, my nigga. It's fucking business. This is one of the reasons why I learned trading and investing, bro. This is why I learned trading and investing. But it tries you back into trauma. It's still going to charge you back into trauma because it's like, we can make motherfuckers spend when we at will. We always create the problem and give the solution. That's it. That's the flex. And we operate because the humans, we know that we have a resource that we can always do what we needed to do. Why? Because we know that we're teaching them how to always regress back into trauma. Even if you go to your therapist, chances are, if you listen, this goes into the point. Listen to your therapist. They're going to say, can you just get back to who you were before all of this trauma? You'll tell them, I want to get back to that person before, and they'll encourage you. Yeah, do that. Go back to do the things that you used to do. And you'll go back to doing them as you were before the trauma, but you can't do them anymore because of the trauma. The trauma is the very blockage that is keeping you from actually doing the shit that you're going back to, because it was the trauma that made you stop doing it. So you have to flip it to heal. Once you heal, you're able to do the things from a new light. So this is what I was talking about at the very beginning. I know it kind of seemed like I flowed off, but I didn't. When we look at the trauma of the healing and we create, now you have to get into a new space of going forward to who you are after the scars. Shit never stops. Your pains don't go away. You get stronger. But they teach you to regress back to when you were weaker. You feel me? You feel what I'm saying? And that is largely why the problems keep resurfacing. That's why the problems keep resurfacing. When you go forward to the scar, you're able to accept it. This is why I was talking about with the chakra, the earthly attachment. When you have no connection to it, you're able to develop a different way. You feel what I'm saying? And you're able to say, okay, I can still move this way. I have to now infuse my creativity with the trauma that I've healed from. I have to now infuse the progression with the trauma that I've healed from. But you got to heal from the trauma. They don't tell you that they don't tell you to heal with the trauma. They tell you just carry the shit around. Get comfortable carrying the shit around. Get comfortable bleeding on niggas and shit. Like, no, that's not what it's about. This is why when I talk about forgiveness, it's about understanding why pain was inflicted. This shit, don't get me wrong. I'm saying, it sounds like I'm saying it like it's easy. It's not. It's not, nigga. You have to read So Frail 3 to understand it. But I literally had to go through the tree of life. I had to understand all 12 laws of the universe, and I had to heal my chakras and open up my chakras all to get to the point where I can start healing. I had to do this for every individual trauma. Every trauma that I faced, I had to put myself through the 12 laws, go through the 12 laws of the universe, unblock my chakras with it, and go through the tree of life with that shit, with every trauma. Nigga, I've been traumatized since I was 17 months old when I got hit by a car. I had to go through every trauma up until that point, nigga, while still getting other traumas because the world don't stop. You feel what I'm saying? So you have to get to that point of understanding it. Now, don't get me wrong. The more you do it, the faster it happens. And then the more easier you're able to get to it. And then you get to a point where you now, excuse me, excuse me, I'm not connecting to the trauma anymore. I'm not connecting to the trauma. Something else that we do that makes it harder to actually heal is we define ourselves as the pain, as opposed to saying what we have. You feel me? This is something that I literally just changed about a year and a half ago that kind of, I wouldn't have been able to see it had I have not gone through the steps and the healings that I've gone through, but it made it so much easier to see. I no longer say I am anything. Like, I am sad, I am mad, I am hurt, I am broken, I am devastated. I don't say none of that shit. I say I have devastation. I have sadness. I have anger. I have to displace it a certain way now. Because when I have it, it now moves it down the chakra level. When I say I am, I'm defining myself as this. When I say I have, oh, this is a feeling that I have right now that I can change to give me a different identity. Do you feel what I'm saying? And this is how you move forward to the scar. As opposed to staying, I am helps you stay into the wound. It's either going to help you stay in the wound or move on to the scar, depending on what you utter I am. But if everything you utter I am for is trauma, is centered under trauma, you'll never progress. You'll always regress. Because you'll always keep trying, I got to go to a point that before all of this, you got too much trauma, bro. You got too much trauma to go to a point that it didn't exist. And when I talk to people, it's like, now we get into the, how do you heal healing your inner child? This shit goes into hand in hand. You feel me? Your inner child and your ego, the same motherfucker, bro. And it makes sense when you put it into perspective of them being the same motherfucker. But it's like, they'll tell you to kill your ego and heal your inner child. You can't do both. You may not know that the inner child and the ego is the same motherfucker, but your inner child and ego know it's the same motherfucker. And one knows when you're trying to kill it, and the other one knows when you're trying to build it at the same time, and you in a rat race. Because a healthy ego understands the scar. And healing the inner child is how you get to that point. They don't teach you to heal the inner child. They teach you to talk about healing the inner child. Go back. What do they always tell you? Go back and do things you used to do before the trauma. Go back and do these things. Why is it so imperative for you to always regress? As opposed to go forward with the same energy you had when this is what I've learned about it. You have to go forward with the energy. You can't go back to the time. All you keep hearing is get into the markets. But do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, Forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest, and if you should do stocks, Forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Mastering the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it? That's a bar, my nigga. That's a bar. You can't go back to the time. You have to go forward to the energy. You feel what I'm saying? Because time doesn't exist. It's a social construct. No, nigga. Time is real. But time is real in the context that everything is recorded. But it's not recorded as in a linear time. It's recorded in energy, bro. It's recorded in energy on your nervous system. You may not remember that this shit happened on July 9th, 1854. I hope none of y'all niggas is that old. But you may not remember that it happened at that particular moment, but you remember what the fuck happened at that particular moment. Because it's something you'll never forget. That time is stored. You don't even need the time to store it. You need the energy. So they teach you to go back to the time before you did X, Y, and Z. Not go forward with the energy you had in that moment. I'm saying this case in point. Because I gotta liven it up a little bit. It seems like this shit getting dark. But you feel me? When it comes to, my music, like, When I first when I was trying to get my pen back, I was like, I want to go back to when I was as good as I was. I'm far better now, but I don't even know how much greater I am because I'm trying to go back to the standard I was when I first started. Like when I actually like stopped writing for real, I think one of my last joints was, it was trauma. It was trauma. Like, I'm involved with a woman who I let into the world of music, and I don't like music no more because I don't like her. So now I'm trying to regress back to the time before it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. Because in order to do it, I have to go back to what lyrically I was actually doing before we heard. I was 18 years old, my nigga. You know what I rapped about at 18 years old? I'm sure you can guess. How quick I can kill a nigga. Punchlines about killing niggas, fucking bitches, and getting money. That's all that my pen was about. Killing niggas, fucking bitches, and getting money. And I had already internalized that was it. And I had some mean punchlines, nigga. Mean punchlines. Like, when I say mean, I mean mean. But I've always been cold with it. But it's been the gift. Now, I'm not saying I'm like now at, what is it? 1835. That's what, 17 years. 17 years later, I'm trying. No. I still kept my pen sharp. Don't get me wrong. Like, you've heard some of the sessions, nigga. But that's why you've evolved into jam sessions. Because now it's like, they'll tell you, okay, you can't, like, you need to go back to that old scene. Like, that's how I heard niggas say, like, go back to that old scene when I was talking about killing niggas, fucking bitches, and getting money. I've gone through life and I've learned so much more than that. Why is that what I need to talk about? Why is that what you need me to talk about? Because now it's like, okay, but how do I still carry that energy I had when I was there? Like, because the whole point of it was, I realized what the underlying issue was. It was just, I want my creativity to push my thoughts with words. I took that energy and I have to move forward through the scar. Now, there's a whole bunch of trauma tied to the shit after that. That it's like, if I keep trying to regress back to the old version of who I was before this shit, it ain't gonna hit. I'm not gonna hit. I'm gonna look goofy. That's what happens with a lot of niggas, bro. Life happens and shit, and they keep trying to go back to go to your prime. No, nigga, there is no prime for me. I can't go. I'm not going back to any prime. I'm going forward to a new level. That's it. That's all there is for me, because now I'm tapping back into the joy and getting away from the trauma. You feel what I'm saying? I remember when me and the girl, she's a woman, but I remember when we were together and I knew when my pen started getting dark. I started rapping about stupid shit, like shit that was like, yo, I'm hurt. Like, I'm depressed. I'm sad. I'm like, I felt those things coming. You feel me? And then it's like, after we broke up and shit, like, I became a dark motherfucker. Like none of the shit that I rapped about could make sense and shit. Like, you feel what I'm saying? It just didn't do it. So then I healed a little bit, got better, did my album. You feel what I'm saying? And then from there, I was like, all right, I'm going to be done with rap because, I'm old. I'm older now. I'm going to go to med school, this, that, and the third. And med school still, I'm still keeping things up. But it's like, what I'm learning is that it's the energy, bro. Now you got to take that energy forward into the scar. That's one example. The next example is motherfucking social media and shit. My page got shut down. Shit's obsolete. Now, in learning the algorithm and how to beat the motherfucker and get out of shadow bans and mutes and shit like that, this ain't social media no more, nigga. This called interest media. You got to make these niggas interested. So it's like, my old posting style was, I'm going to steal people's memes and post that. That's an oversaturated market. That's not even for creative people, bro. That's not even for creative people. It worked for me because I was able to flip the content easy. And niggas now built off of that shit. And it's just like, that's an oversaturated market for one. But then for two, it's like, Instagram ain't on that shit no more, bro. Instagram ain't on that shit no more. They don't even show your content to your followers no more. Because literally your followers aren't interested in you. The only thing that your followers are interested for you is your stories. So if you're not posting stories, and you'll hear people say, y'all are always in my stories, but not liking my content. They're not seeing your shit. You're not seeing your shit. And I'm saying that because now you hear people say, Instagram needs to go back to where it was before all of these changes. No, nigga, you need to adapt to where Instagram is going. Only the strong survive. And niggas is mad. They're like, Instagram and social media it changed. Like, it ain't the same. Like, there ain't nobody on Instagram no more because Instagram dead. Instagram ain't dead. Instagram ain't dead. You have regressed so much that you're no longer existing on the motherfucker. This shit evolved, my nigga. It evolved, but when you were traumatized by the change, like now this is how subtle trauma is. And I'm glad I'm transitioning using Instagram at this point. This is how subtle the trauma is, bro. When Instagram changes slightly, you get an update, you change this and a third, you have a stored memory of when it felt good. Most people, I want Instagram to go back to what it was in 2012, 13. That's when it was popping for you. Other people, I want Instagram to go back between 2015, 2016. That's when it was popping for you. The trauma of the change makes you regress and makes you desire the regression to get back to where it was when you felt any kind of joy before the pain, quote unquote, hit you. That's why I'm glad I used the Instagram example, because it's like, I don't want you to feel like it's all deep pain. Like, it ain't all deaths and shit like that. This is how I flow. I like to use extremes of shit to drive the point home. We have emotional attachment to extreme shit. And it's easy to get a message across than using subtle like details. Like, this is the other side of it. It doesn't always have to be deep and death and all of that shit. No, sometimes it's just a simple change, and you want to. Changes happen so much, and you want to be complacent. You feel me? It causes trauma that leads to regression. You feel me? As opposed to euphoria that leads to joy. And I'm saying that because it's like, and starting my new page, like, nigga, fuck that. We switching all reels, nigga. And the reason why now is because it's like, yo, I have music distributed to this shit. And I was trying to like balance it to where it's like, I want to go back to who I was before. When I built my page the first time, I didn't have no music distributed as through streaming and different platforms. I didn't have none of that shit. I didn't have none of the shit recorded. I didn't have podcasts. I didn't have anything. I had one book. My nigga. I have to adapt to everything now, and I have to incorporate everything into the change. You feel what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of shit there's a lot of moving pieces that have to go into it, that had to go into it, that I was refusing to put into the shit because it was easy to regress. It's like, yo, you know what? This worked before. Let me go back to posting bullshit. Let me go back to stealing people's memes and just being the caption king and start going back. I had those moments of regression. Y'all seen them if you've been following me. You seen, like, what I love most about this page versus the other one is like the people that are here that came from the other one before it shut down and shit. They got to see my change. You see me go from seeing the light, seeing the professor, seeing the griot. Then you see go from tweet style shit. It's like, yo, these things, I can't keep trying to go back. I'm trying to go back to moments where, oh, this is what used to work for me. This won't work for me anymore, no matter how much it's still working for other people. You feel what I'm saying? That was something that I had to realize. I can't go back to if I keep going back to who I was before the trauma, all I'm going to do is keep replicating the trauma. That's the goal. Not the goal, but that's the reality of it all. Like, when we constantly say, I want to go back to the old me, all it's going to do is put you back into the position that has you complaining about going back to the old you, because you're eventually going to experience that trauma again. We see it all the time in relationships. When you get broken in a relationship, I want to go back to who I was before the relationship broke me. So now I'm going to keep going back to people who remind me of who I was before this. No. That relationship is supposed to catalyze you into something totally different. You're not that person from behind that got hurt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Women why do men keep doing this to me? Why do you keep regressing back to the version of yourself that this has to happen to? Huh? I'm not just talking about women either. Niggas, y'all ain't safe. Why y'all keep regressing back to and this is a personal perspective right now. I'm about to get real personal on this one. Like, I kept running into women who were not good. And it's like, why are you doing this? Because like, I want to go to the version of myself who before I was heartbroken. And nigga, I was a dog. And let me tell you how it made me a dog, nigga. When I say dog, nigga, I'm not talking about Shih Tzu Schnauzer, nigga. I was a fucking King Corso. Like, I was a dog, nigga. Dog. Because I went back to who I was before I was heartbroken while still carrying the trauma. I'm doing a dramatic pause like that so we can actually sit, because I want to drive it home of the efficacy of what happens when you keep trying to regress back to who you were before the pain, because the pain can't go nowhere. I won't shit, bro. I tell y'all, I retired 2 jerseys. The first jersey I retired pre-heartbreak. There was no pain there. I was just that nigga, bro. I was that nigga, and there was the euphoria there was the joy there. I was that nigga. Like, I was getting numbers and shit, and it's like, but once that heartbreak happened, I tried to go back to that version, and I still had the heartbreak. And I'm like, yo, let me go back to who I was before I met this bitch, before all of this. And I went back to who I was before I met that bitch, but I still had what that bitch did to me. And I'm using bitch dramatically. I don't see her as a bitch. It is what it is. But I'm speaking as I was when I went back. And that run that I did, nigga. I was smashing, thrashing, and haberdashing, bro. I'm telling you. And it got to a point where it was just like, it's no longer fun. And the thing was, like, why was it fun when I was before the heartbreak, but it ain't fun now? Because you were heartbroken, dumbass. You weren't heartbroken when it was fun. That's why it was fun. Now you're heartbroken doing what you did when it was fun, and it's no longer fun because you're heartbroken. You got to go forward to create joy. And that's when I was like, all right, nigga, I bow out. Let me go celibate. Let me practice celibate. So the second Jersey run ended when I was like 25. No, it was 26. 26, it officially ended. It officially ended because I got some top, because she wanted to top me off. And I'm like, who the fuck am I to stop her? You know, I put that shit in the jam session. Not that she got me, the woman who got me or whatever. But I was talking about that. It was like, I was like, she suck it dry, the fuck am I to stop her when she walked the talk, she talking. And I was like, I was talking to her like we could be, and I told her I was celibate or whatever the case may be. And again, that's 2015, 2016, 17 era. Like, we all woke and shit and everybody up and we feeling good about ourselves and shit. And it's just like, you know, she talking about, never mind, man. Let me stop. That's not even the direction this shit was supposed to be motherfucking going. But anyway, so I decided to go celibate and shit and everything. Is like, but celibacy was so I can get the scar. Celibacy was so I can get the scar, because I'm like, I can't go backwards to this old nigga that I keep regressing back into because I'm in pain. Let me go back to who I was before I got hurt, because the older I got, the younger I stayed. This is transparency moment, nigga. You don't get, like, if my young bulls is listening, you don't get too many OGs and big homies and old heads that are talking like this, so you might want to listen up, my nigga. I got heartbroken when I was 21 years old. The woman cheated on me, broke my heart, whatever the case may be, got pregnant by another man, all of that shit. It was a lot. I was 21 years old when this happened to me. I'm still in college, still got to graduate. There's a lot of traumas that are now residual effects of all of this shit, right? At that moment, I said, at 21, I said, let me go back to who I was before we got together. We got together when I was 18. I'm already going back 3 years. It's cool because I had just started college. So I'm like, all right, freshman year in college, free and all of that shit. I'm a junior in college when this happens. So I'm like, yo, freshman in college, blah, blah, blah. You feel me? I'm still trying to go back at 21. Like, I'm putting this in context. I'm still trying to maintain that energy of an 18-year-old pre-heartbreak, before I met this chick, before all of that. I'm still operating from that nigga at 18. Well, from 18. So at 21, I said, okay, let me go back to who I was. Not heal, go back to who I was. So at 18, with this wound, at 21, I'm now thinking and went back to how I was when I was 18. That's 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 years old, I'm still trying to go back to who I was before the heartbreak. I'm still trying to go back to who I was before this bitch played me. Now I'm getting older, but I'm still trying to go back to when I was 18. How many of us never realize it and let the light bulb go off to say, I'm getting older, still trying to go back to when I was a younger bird? Like, and the gap keeps getting wider. Your development starts getting arrested. And I said, nigga, hold up, something ain't right. I'm still pulling the same tactics and doing the same shit, and I'm getting older and older. This ain't right. Let me stop and heal some shit. And when I healed and I got a scar, I said, oh, nigga, this is why when you have dudes that be like, yo, she's mature for her age, they 30 years old, and like, these niggas been her age for that long. Whatever it was that they faced, they got stuck there. I want to stay at this point. I want to stay at this age. I want to stay at this level. Whatever trauma they experience, I'm going to stay at that level. I'm going back to before who I was before that trauma. And I'm going to stay there. I like to use myself as an example because I learned my lessons, nigga. I really do. I learned them. And as I learned it, I said, you know what? I got to be celibate, bro. Celibacy was about creating the scar. Because it's like, if I go for this, here's my logic. Going backwards to the person I was before the trauma, before the heartbreak and shit, I was a whore bag. But now I'm just carrying this trauma, still being a whore bag at 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. And 26. Because 25, 26 is when I actually went celibate or whatever. But in that decision, I said, you know what? Who am I if I healed? This is my logic behind it. I'm going to say this and hopefully, we still got time. It might run the rest. But it's like I had to envision, because this is when my mind started changing. I realized how much power my mind had, because like I said, I'm healing through the chakras and I'm learning them and shit. It's like, if I constantly say, envision myself, who am I after? Who am I before this trauma? Who was I before this wound, before this pain? Who was I? I go back to that because I do have memory to that. I do have a recollection of that. You feel me? Oh, I was free. I was calm. I was this. I was that. I was this. That nigga died. When the trauma hit, that version died. So no matter how much you keep trying to revive it, you become a zombie, metaphorically and shit. But then when I learned the power of visualization, because it's like all I'm visualizing is my past. It's like, what does it look? Who am I after the healing? And that's when like celibacy was the first thing to come up after that. It was the first thing to come up out of that. It was like, who am I after the healing? I'm a motherfucker who don't just fuck everything and fuck anything. I'm a motherfucker who actually takes his time. Like, I started to really identify what it was. This one I started to realize, okay, this is why they teach us to focus on history and not mystery. If we study our ancestors and shit, they had mystery systems. I was always wondering why. Like, why do y'all call them the mystery schools? Because history is for niggas that gonna stay in the past. Mystery is for those that are going in the future. You need euphoria to have mystery. So the mystery of it all is like, yo, what mystery do I want to create? This is why religion tells you God works in mysterious ways. God creates the future, nigga. Yo goofy ass creates the past because you don't know that you're the reflection and the image and likeness of God. This is what it really means. That's a layered metaphor. The Lord works in mysterious ways. God, Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha moves in mysterious ways because it moves in ways in alignment with euphoria in the future. You can't see the mysterious ways and you call them miracles and everything because you don't even know that you have a hand in your own mysterious ways that are being developed. Because you're focused on you're focused on being who you are before the pain. What do we go to our deities for? Take away the pain, take away my burdens, take away this. They don't. And you want them taken away so you can go back to who you were before that happens. That's not why that happens. You're supposed to look at the history to create the mystery, heal from the history to create the mystery. So I'm saying that because it's like, when I started to visualize, yo, who do I really want to be? Who do I want to be after the wound? Like, I already know who I was before the wound. I don't like this nigga, bro. Like, nigga, that's what got me wounded in the first fucking place. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's my healing logic. As I'm healing, it's just like, if I keep going back to that shit, I'm gonna repeat the same pain. Cause that's the nigga that got me into the shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now in healing, it's like, in the healing I started to develop like, yo, who am I after I've healed? I know who I am before the trauma. But who am I after the healing? You feel me? And that's what I literally just started creating that motherfucker because it's like, yo, I'm not just slinging dick everywhere. And it's like, when I started telling people, yo, I'm celibate, and they're like, yo, how do you just abstain? It's not hard. It's not hard because who I've created after the scar, after the wound. I'm not just out here on play shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Abstaining because I'm still thinking like I was before the wound hit. No, nigga, I'm thinking after because I understand what all of this shit is going to get me again. And I know that I only want one woman. I know that I only can be with one woman and all this other shit. I know these things now. And I created that image in my head and it became a mystery at first. At first, I thought it was a mystery. Because they're like, yo, when you hear about a mystery, Scooby-Doo's and all of this shit, you think it's some shit that, no, the mystery is You envisioning beyond the wound. You envisioning the future. You envisioning out of joy and and recreating that life. Do you know when you constantly, the past is done. It doesn't exist. But when you constantly go back to who you were, your mind creates the reality according to that. It seems easier because we lived that life at some point. So it's like, okay, I remember when I used to, and now you're repeating all of the things you lived there. Now I started thinking, when I changed my perspective, it said, who do I want to be after? Like, who do I want the scarred version of me to be? Do I want to be a bitter, evil motherfucker who's still doing the same dumb shit that got him wounded the first time? What do I want to be? I started looking at it like that. And as I started looking at it like that, it put bigger things into context for me. Much, much bigger things in context for me, because it's like, oh, this ain't, you can't do that. You can't do that. Because you're not that. You know what I'm saying? So now when we tie this into, when I was talking about the point of, like, the presidencies and shit and the elections and shit, and motherfuckers is looking at me, oh, you didn't vote. No. Now motherfuckers is mad. I can't trust nobody who didn't vote. This, that, and the third. It's like, I get your frustration because of the trauma that you deal with. Right? I get that. I'm not mad at that. But at the same time, if you take the time to understand what I've healed from and I've made it, I'm like, while you're saying, okay, from your perspective, you have to look at it as you have to pick a side. For me, I don't like either side to pick. Right? So when you can argue, oh, we just got to pick the lesser of two evils. While you can argue you're picking the lesser of two evils, I have to acknowledge that I am aligning with evil. I don't care if it's less or not. I don't align with evil, my nigga. You can do that. I can't. So when they're like, yo, you still should have. No, I don't align with evil in any way, shape, or form. And I get you're not seeing them as evil, or whatever the case may be, because it's like, yo, y'all look at the last 8 years, my nigga. Under Biden, you got vaccinated. Under Biden, you got vaccinated. Under Trump, ICE and shit kicked in. Racism became overt again. What? How is one like? And when you know what the vaccine did to niggas, they frontal lobes and shit, like when you know what that's like, it's evil. You feel me? So when niggas is like, yo, why you didn't vote for this? Why you didn't vote? I don't pick evil. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm not sorry about it, because it's like, I get y'all frustration and y'all think voting is going to work. Y'all think voting is like, y'all think constantly picking the lesser of two evils is going to make it not evil. I don't know how to, I can't rationalize that. I just can't. You feel me? Because it becomes a face of comfort. But because I understand what this shit really is, I move a different way. So while niggas is like, you should have voted so that way this and that, like, it was going to happen either way. This shit was going to happen either way, but they had to structure it with the right face to make it happen accordingly. The shit ICE is doing would have happened either way. Like, ICE and shit would have happened. But would you have looked at it? Would you have accepted it? I'm going to say it like this. ICE would have happened either way. How would it be? Would you have felt the exact same way if it was under Kamala? Internally, would you have felt the same way about it? Would you still have the same outrage about it? Probably not. Probably not. So much so, if Venezuela would have got struck under Kamala, would you have felt the same way about it? No. No, you wouldn't. These things were going to happen, my nigga. It's called Project 2025. This shit was going to go. It was going to happen. There's no ifs, ands, and maybes about the shit. It was going to happen. They needed a face to make it justifiable and make the happening happen. Would you feel the exact same outrage if Kamala would have been the president? No. No, you feel this way because Donald is the president. Donald is the president because of the Republicans. The Republicans run the United States as the business. The business needs to be realigned because the country got fucked up. You feel what I'm saying? You got to understand that every time it always happens this way. You feel me? The country, when the country part of the people actually do the business, right? And it builds the economy, whatever. You need the Republic. It does this all the time. Just go back between president to president to president. I promise you the cycle happens every single time. Every single time, bro. It's designed this way. It's designed this way. Everything that they're doing, they were going to do. It's easier for them to execute it under Trump. If you would have did this exact same thing under Kamala, it wouldn't have flown. And now you're in a crisis. You feel me? Now you're really in a crisis with it because for Kamala Harris, for you to be doing these things under Kamala Harris, it would have been like, whoa. But would you have cared? Would you have paid attention? Chances are you wouldn't, because when Obama was sending drone strikes out, nobody said anything. When Obama was sending drone strikes out to Iran, to Syria, to all of these places, right after George Bush did 9/11, like, nobody said shit. Nobody cared. Nobody said shit. Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, all of these people, a lot of the shit that happened, the deaths they were under Obama's regime. Nobody said anything about him. You feel what I'm saying? And again, let me say this. This is not me saying I side with the Republicans. I side with any side of politics. I don't fuck with the entire evil. You feel what I'm saying? I don't align with the evil. I don't care which one is the lesser. They're both evil. This country is evil. And in order, you have left wing and right wing. In order for the bird to fly, they have to flap together. It's evil. It's evil. And the evil is so wound because the people are the country. It traumatizes the people to make them stay in a certain regressive state, to make them operate a certain way every time. And now when the Republicans and shit need shit like this, where they sending ICE out to traumatize you back into what? You're not going forward to solve your problems because of the scar, because you know America is the way that it is. You're not. You're going to go back to, the whole point, listen to the whole thing. Make America great again. What era was America ever great? Now, for white people, that was pre-integration. Look where it just sent them niggas back to. There are people that are still alive that were a part of the civil rights movement that were spitting on black people during integration. They're still alive right now. They raised their kids, they raised their grandkids, their great grandkids and shit like that. Like the Civil Rights Act was signed in 1964. Right? My mama was born in 1963. You know what I'm saying? Niggas from 1950 and some niggas from 1950 and 1940 are still alive. You feel what I'm saying? When you say make America great again, where did it send them niggas back to? What is this trauma sending them back to a time when they were comfortably being racist? They never stopped being racist, my nigga. They never stopped being Klans members. They never stopped being none of that shit. They raised their kids accordingly. You feel what I'm saying? They raised their kids accordingly, and now you're seeing how their kids are reacting to the trauma that they'll regress back to. This education system don't fix shit. It makes it so that you comfortable with everything that keeps going on. We're going to educate these motherfuckers to not go above 12 years old. Like niggas tell the stories all the time. The average person, when you talk to them, tell them, oh, elementary school was cool, but then once I got into middle school and then puberty and all of this shit, like there's a lot of shit that they, when I say this system is cold and it's evil, it's evil. Between sixth grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, your acne is all fucked up. Hormones is all out of control. You don't even know why, because you're not eating right. You don't know, but they control the shit. They control the shit. Now your confidence has to be built, your self-esteem. Some people build off narcissism. Some people build off actual genuine confidence. There's a lot of shit that goes between those 3 years of middle school. You feel me? 2 years if motherfucking your elementary school was went to sixth grade, but for sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade, for the most part, nigga, you are in your foundational points, and that's where they're trying. Either you're gonna be trauma, either you're gonna develop trauma or euphoria. Most of us are gonna go through trauma. Get called ugly, get picked on, for the shoes that you wear, all of that shit. Like, nigga, status and classism is there. Like, that shit is traumatizing like a motherfucker, bro. It's traumatizing like a motherfucker. And if you ain't got the confidence to do that shit, now think about where the classes put you at, how they sit you, the confidence that you feel going into all of these motherfuckers. Like, it's a science to this shit, bro. It's a science and a methodology to this shit. So it's like every time trauma hits, we're gonna send them back to the time before they had it. Now, niggas be thinking I be reaching this shit, nigga. Go read this book called Battlefield for the Mind by William Sargent, and you start and study the guy, that Russian dude named Pavlov. You feel me? Study that shit, nigga. When you study that shit, you'll look at America and be like, oh, these niggas is Pavlov's dogs. Like, and we stuck at 6 to 12 years. I mean, sixth graders fucking between 11 and 12 years old. Mentally. And once the trauma hit, they got you. Never forget. Like, that's why history is so important, because from history, if you don't know why history is used, if you don't know why history is important, you only know that it's important. And if you only know that it's important, you don't know how to use a mystery. Again, tying it back. Now I can give you a religion and tell you that deities work in mysterious ways, because I'm not going to tell you that you create the mystery. So now when I tell people, when people say, okay, well, you got to pray for this, that, and the third, what is prayer? Prayer is when you use the necessary words to conjure the image in order to create something. They taught us to pray is asking deities for shit. Begging. Nah, nigga. It's about conjuring images in your mind to hold, to actually create something. So the mystery that you're now developing is based off of tying it all back full circle, who you are after the scar of the trauma. Some people don't even be affected by certain traumas and shit. Like, as fucked up as it sounds, like when they post us and show us of another black man dying, another black woman dying, I'm numb. That shit don't traumatize me no more. I know that ain't fucked up. It ain't morbid. It's like, oh, nigga, I got to the scar because I know why this keeps happening. In addition, I'm going to say this is not my first incarnation. So my soul has already seen this shit a lot of times. So it's like I get bothered and shit. I feel it, but I don't internalize it. Like, I'm not traumatized by it anymore. Because I know that this is what I do. Like, when you understand why something works a certain way, you don't have that emotional connection to it anymore. You feel what I'm saying? Like, for example, when they just did the chick that got killed in in Minneapolis by ICE, or whatever the case may be, on New Year's Eve, a black man was killed and nobody knew anything about it. And now they're like, oh, say his name, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 I don't feel it. It's not that I don't care. Like, and let me clarify that, because again, if you're not comprehending correctly, you're gonna think I don't care. No, I care. I don't feel it. I care. I just don't feel it. And I stopped feeling it a long time ago. Because it's like, what is the wound that keeps happening to send me back to this? Because what does it do? As soon as you make what they say, 5 steps forward, 10 steps back. As soon as you make a little progress, boom, boom, boom. It's like clockwork to send you back. Why? I reached the point where it's like, I got to turn this into a scar. I care. I care when my people are slain in the street. I care. I just don't feel it anymore. I don't. I haven't felt it since probably George Floyd. And I think the reason why I think that really helped heal it, because George Floyd was my cousin. Like, he's in my family. Like, he's like I think maybe my second or third cousin or something like that. But I don't, like, after him, it was just like, this hit closer. And it like, the moment, it was just like, I didn't feel it. I cared. I just didn't feel it. And I realized, yeah, I definitely healed from this shit. And this trauma can't send me back anymore. And I realized that it stopped sending me back. You feel me? In a multitude of ways, it just stopped sending me back because it started making me go forward faster. And that's the part of the healing that I want to get to. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to start trying to wrap it up. When you get beyond the scar, right? You stop getting to the point where you regress back to before the wound, but now it triggers almost instantly to start progressing beyond the scar. You no longer tell yourself, how can I go back to who I was before this hurt? You start to gravitate yourself and saying, I'm going forward to who I am after this scar. It's clockwork. It happens so quick. But it gets to that point because like you've practiced going back you got to practice going forward to who you are after the wound. And that's what starts the healing. That's what starts the healing. And now the mystery is no longer a mystery. I'm no longer clueless to the shit, spinning it back and bringing it into the side of, social media, with the new page and everything. Is like, I know, like, I'm not trying to go back to who I was when Instagram was popping and I was able to get I know how Instagram works now. So I'm going to use it beyond that. Who I am before, like the person I was, I'm gonna say this too. The person I was before my page got shut down, before the quote unquote wound, I was just winging it, freestyling it, getting lucky, really, happened to make a post, here, go sell my book and it worked. The person that I am now, after the healing and the person after the scar is systemized. I know the system. You can put me in, like, I can start my page over right now and do it again. You feel me? If it shuts down, I have such a solid system that I could just pick back up from where I left off at. Literally. Because I knew that I had to do that shit. So now it's all about, okay, I need to put this music with this, and the third. Now I'm literally branding one word, Palakafe. Everything that's Palakafe is now all of my books, courses, everything like that, and all of that shit is there. Podcast, everything, just that one word. That's the direction that I have to go. I no longer look at social media as, I gotta do everything they tell me to do. I gotta do that. No, I know how it works. I know how it works. When I say I know how Instagram works, my nigga, I know how Instagram works. I know how social media works. They will all work a little bit different, but I know how they work, whether it be TikTok, Threads, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I know how it works. I know exactly how it works, and I know how it works to get to a certain point. And I know how to use it now. And now that's what I do. You know what I'm saying? But now it's because I think out of the scar, as opposed to because I now think about being who I am after the scar and no longer about who I was before the wound. It makes me do things differently. I can't go back because I realize, because the healing is like, if I'm thinking about doing things after the scar, it's like the shit that I was doing before the wound doesn't even compute, because I automatically know from the healing that, and then that's what led you to that wound the first fucking time. Now, granted, I'm going to get other wounds, but now that my mindset has changed into the mystery as opposed to the history and things of that nature, I'm able to look at it differently and go forward and say, hey, bruh, I'm doing it like this because this is how it has to be done. I'm not going back to a version of who I was before my pain. I'm going to a version of who I am after my euphoria. That's like, healing is it's not easy. It's not hard either, though. You get on social media all day long and hear motherfuckers say healing is a constant journey. It's not. If you healing forever, you sick. That's a dramatic pause, my nigga, but for real, if you're healing forever, you're sick. How did we get to that understanding of that healing, constant healing is sick? Like, motherfuckers get on medicines and they can't get off. Why? Because this is their system. This is the evil shit. Like, you feel what I'm saying? This is the evil shit. Now, when you want to say, I don't want to be on medicines or whatever the case may be, or I want to be healed. Now you have to think about what that looks like. You have to create the mystery. What does the healed version of you look like? You want to regress back to the old version of you before you got hurt. That's why you keep healing, because you're sick. And you're going to stay sick. As long as you keep going back to the old you, you're going to stay sick. You'll never get healed. So now when you look on the social media platforms and you look at the podcast and you look at all of the people that was another boom. The podcast boom that came and they created the wars that made them stronger. It's like all of these niggas saying the same shit. Now you're always going to be on a healing journey. I'm not. I'm literally telling you right now that I'm not on a healing journey, on a constant healing journey, because I now have scars. My wounds ain't bleeding. But now I can tell you, articulate it well, like, nigga, this why. I no longer think about trying to be who I was before I got hurt. I'm trying to think about who I am, who I have to be after I got hurt. Because now what is the pain? Other than a catalyst or something, like, it's like, oh, that just lets me know I was weak. The point is that I was making with that social media and shit, tying it back into, when I consider like how my page got shut down, and it's like I didn't have the foundation I have now. I can admit that. Although I had the following and shit and all of that, it's like it was still chaotic. It was still all over the place. It wasn't what I needed. It wasn't what it is now in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, I had my website. Yeah, I had certain shit, but there were certain things that I lacked, a foundation that I lacked, that I didn't have, that I had to build. And now it's like, oh, I got it. Because I had to stop looking at the victim side of, oh, let me go back to how it was before I was hurt. Let me go back to how it was when I had my shit. Like, you can't. Because that's why I got shut down. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that's what helps that's what catalyzes a lot of my healing. When I decide, I say this first, and this is I ain't gonna say it's like my mantra and shit, but this is like how I actually approach it. I'm like, let me go back to the old me. And then it's like, do you like where the fuck you are now, nigga? No, well, don't go back to the old you, go forward to the new you, because the fucking old you is gonna get you back here again. You feel me? I had to grow for that. This goes back to when I was actually 21 years old and went through a heartbreak. And I'm like, I got to go back to how it was when I was 18. And then at 22, I'm still 18. At 23, I'm still 18. 24, I'm still 18. Something ain't right, nigga. Something ain't right. Like, why the fuck am I still like, and then it's like, I'm dealing with women that are like, still that same shit. It's like, now when were you traumatized? When were you traumatized? And why do you keep trying to go back to that age? And it's like, oh shit, you're too old for that. Now, when we look at why you have the old heads and shit that are taking advice from younger people, those people aren't younger than them. Those people are not younger than them. Those people, they just have been on the earth a shorter amount of time. They're not younger. And I know semantics and shit, nigga, they're not younger. You feel me? They are not younger. And I'm saying this because it's like, at my height on my old page, it was like, I was like 27 years old giving advice to niggas that's 40 and 50 years old. I'm like, nigga, how? The fuck? I can tell where they stopped. I could tell where they stopped. I could tell where the trauma made them stop. Now, we're black. We black men. You feel me? Now, this goes back into the episodes that I'll be talking about where it's like, black boys are not respected. When do we find that? What age? Like, some of us are empty because we don't even have an age to start from. Or an age to regress back to. It's no excuse, nigga. It's no excuse, but I'm just saying, this is a part of the reality that we're dealing with. We all keep regressing back to the trauma as opposed to progressing to the euphoria. And I know it's like, well, how do you bring joy out of your pain? How do you, like, your purpose is on the other side of it? You have to, like, start asking yourself that question. For real. Be like, if I went back to the old me right now, like, going back to the old me, like, these are I would go back to doing all of the things, experiencing and living life the exact same way that led me here right now. Healing, I promise you, bro. I promise you. Healing becomes so much easier when you can do that. Now I get it. Well, what about loss and what about things of that nature? What about, like, it don't go nowhere. It don't leave you. You have to change it. Who am I to be? And this is where you can start off. This is something that I talked about with the word will. They tell us we got free will. This ties into the will, the mystery of deities and all that shit. It goes hand in hand. But what is will? Will is when you conjure your soul to make something happen. That's will, right? We talk about what we want to do, what we will do. You literally have to ask yourself this. Who will I be after I heal? Like, you can ask yourself who I want to be. You can envision that, but it's like, who will I be? Like, what version of myself am I going to will into existence after this scar? Right? That's how mystery works. You ask the finite question. What version of myself am I going to will into existence when this wound becomes a scar? Right? Now, when you look at that pristine version of yourself, you standing tall, you confident, you speak a certain way, you all of that shit. The quest to become that person is the healing journey. This is not speculation. Nigga, this is reality. This is what I practice. This is what I do. When you decide, I do not want to be hurt anymore. I can't go back to who I was before the wound. So who will I be when the wound is healed? Now, this is where the mystery comes in, like I said, because you can create whatever version you want to be. You want to be pitiful. You want to be sad. You want to be down. You want to be whatever. Cool. Be that. But whatever it is that you envision that you will be, the path to becoming that person is the healing journey. That's crazy when you think about it, huh? This is why a lot of people don't heal. This is what I'm be saying. Like, when niggas be like, yo, healing is a forever journey. No, when you're trying to stop hurting, that's a forever journey because you're sick. When you keep trying to get back to who you were before the trauma, that's when you're going to get sick. No, get to who you are after the scar. Bar. Get to who you are after the scar, my nigga. Now take that and envision exactly who that person has to be, exactly who that person is. The person who, is like this trauma, this death, this, like, all of these things, compile them and look at who you would become with that fuel, the pinnacle of who you are. That's the healing journey. Literally, nigga, that's the healing journey. I know it's like niggas always telling you to do the work. I'm telling you what the work is. Not many people can do that. You know why? Because not many people have done the work. Like, I'm telling you how to make the necessary changes. If you want to, I want to be an entrepreneur. Whoa. Now, I said the whoa part because of the entrepreneur, but I want to say this one part for real. Be ready for the journey. Because of how you envision yourself, it's not going to be easy to get there. Now, let me add that disclaimer too. Because when I add that part where it's just like, yo, if you envision yourself in your pristine form, make sure it's a journey you can travel. You can travel whatever journey you want to because you can will yourself to do it. But you have to understand what it is that you're willing into existence. You feel what I'm saying? But they make sure that you stay regressive. They're going to keep traumatizing you. It's not going to stop because they want to make sure, like, this is the cheat code. When you say, okay, with this trauma, what do I want to do? I'm going to say this and I'm going to really wrap it up and I'm going to end it on this because in this talk about Trump's thing. Trump got president the first time. I wasn't ready. When Trump got president the first time, I wasn't ready. I can admit that. I was like, because that was 2016-ish, had to be. So I was in Philly or whatever. I had just got to Philly or whatever. And I was like, I had wrote, I think, when did So For Real 1 come out? 2016. Or was it 2016 was when So For Real 1 came out. So between 2015, that's when I'm starting to dabble in entrepreneurship and all of these other things and all of this other shit. I wasn't ready. I said, when I looked at what Trump did the first time, I said, oh, nigga, for one, the markets pop off. Two, it's like a lot of shit was fucked up. And I said, you know what? If he gets elected again, I got to be ready. The trauma was there. Now, I could have said, yo, I could have did what everybody else do. Oh, we need to go back to when the Democrats ran. You see how elections work so easily? We want you to go. When you want to regress, we'll give you the regression. And mask it as progress because you're getting a different face. But anyway, I'm like, yo, I could have went back and said, yo, we're going to get, Trump or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, so what's going to happen if he gets elected again? Will I be ready for that? Because I would see on Facebook, I would see on Instagram, I would see on Twitter and shit when I was on them. It's like, damn, y'all voted for this man. How the future of your kids is like that. When I seen that line, I said, my kids is on me, bro. At that point, there was no more wounds. It was all scars. It was like, who do I have to be to make sure I'm not wounded by this again? And eventually you get books, courses, all of this shit. And then I had to go into branding, advertising, and marketing. That was the hardest part. but I envisioned who I needed to be first. I envisioned who I needed to be from having to leave med school not having to leave. I left and shit because of the situations, and then the fucking my financial aid package getting fucked up in college when I went back to my master's or whatever the case may be, and having to leave and having to work. I said I never want to be in that position again. I don't want my kid in that position. I don't want my kids' kids in that position. I don't want my great granddaughter in that position. Who do I have to become to make sure my great granddaughter is safe? And that was the healing journey to make everything else happen, as what you see has become Pala Cafe.
And don't forget to check out Pala Cafe clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all of the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Pala Cafe clothing.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Honestly and truly, y'all, because this is impromptu, I had no idea it was going to go this direction. I had no idea all of this was going to come out. But this is what it was supposed to be, bro. It is what it is. Like, Pala Cafe is the healing. Pala Cafe is the healing without regression. It is the healing in saying, all right, bet, this is the scar that I can either continue to bleed on the wound, I continue to have the wound, or I'm going to evolve it and give it a scar. Now, this is the person that I want to be. This is the person that I'm going to be. This is the person that I'm willing into existence. You feel what I'm saying? So if this is the person that I'm willing into existence, what does that take to get from this wound to that person? That's the healing journey to give me the scar. It was a lot. I had to write a book. So when I wrote my first book, I ended up writing 4 books. 3 of them are a part of the So Frail series. One is the Hidden and Raw. Then you have the Hidden and Raw book evolved into the Hidden and Raw course. And then from the Hidden and Raw course, so I have that course, and then I have the Master the Market course or whatever. Then I, of course, have the podcast or whatever. These are all things that I was like, in the healing journey of creating the entrepreneurs, like, who do I need to be? I knew the pristine side of what I needed to be, but it's like, as I'm taking this journey, as I'm crossing this path, it's like there's a version of myself that I have to see. There's a version of myself. It's like you have to learn how to create landing pages, how to create websites, how to build all of this shit. Like I learned how to do so much. I learned how to do so much. I'm telling you, bro, within what I've learned in the last 9 years, bro, like I'm expensive now. When Kendrick said, I need a fee just to breathe, bitch, I can't talk to you. I get it. I can teach you social media. I could teach you branding. I could teach you advertising. I could teach you marketing. I could teach you social SEO, search engine optimization. I can teach you audio engineering, sound engineering. I can teach you social media ads. I could teach you everything. And it's not from me taking this person's information and creating a course bigger than that. No, I can give you my experience. Trading, investing. Like sometimes I don't give myself enough credit. This is a horn tutor right here, and I don't know why I'm doing it, but I feel like spirit is compelling me to do it, so I'm gonna do it. Like I did all of this in 9 years, y'all. Not even 9, 5, because it took the branding and advertising was the final cliche, the final ending part. So from 2016 when So Frail 1 came out to 2020, I think it was 2020 when I 2020 was when I finished the Master in the Market course, and in 2021 I dropped So Frail 3. I released So Frail 3. So 6 years. It took me 6 years to do everything that I've done. Some people, like, mastering the market was hard, but to be able to master the market, create a course, and do all of this shit, like within that time pocket, I was like, it didn't really take me long to get the markets. Like I be telling people that shit, I'm like, it didn't take me long to get the markets. The hardest part was actually setting up this shit to brand it and advertise it. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why is because the reason, the battle that kept coming back in is the reason for this episode. Like the battle is like, I kept regressing. Let me go to who I was before this and try to apply that. Nah, nigga, Nah, like, you just a hustler. You trying to be a hustler with this shit. No, nigga, I need to be a systemization, bro. I need to be a system. I didn't know that, like, but I had to envision that first in order to get to that point. Like, now when I do my Apollo Cafe flows, like, I'm not, like, niggas, I'm not trying to be a rapper, nigga. The fuck? I now know I know that I can use music to make Instagram pay me to run ads. I know that I can use music to make social media pay me to run ads for free. Nigga, I'm gonna crank this motherfucking music out. And I'm now, granted, it's not just bullshit. I'm just like, so it's like, I'm no longer in a space where it's like, oh, you try. No, I know what the music is used for in the music business now. I use it for my own business now. The fuck? I know that when I post some catchy bullshit, I'm gonna get flack. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. It's gonna give me traction. It's gonna be like, I'm building a web, my nigga. And I know that I incentivize Instagram to build the web for me, because now it's like, where once you suppress me, you're not gonna suppress me anymore because you get paid to push me. Bitch ass nigga. You feel me? That was the wound from the shadow ban. I can either complain and say, yo, social media dead, I got to get off this shit. Nah, nigga, I decided I wanted to set my damn platform up on social media. I got to make this shit work. To go from being shadow banned to now you have to pay me. Like, you have to pay me. Like, you're going to pay me to, like, you're not going to shadow ban me down because you're going to pay me. I'm paying you to push me without paying you to push me. And what I'm saying that is because it's like, my system is tied to my music. My music, I got an 80-20 split with social media. It makes them niggas want to push my shit. You feel me? So it's like, rather than me having to run ads to push my shit, no, nigga, I'm gonna put some music on this motherfucker to make you push my shit. Y'all don't pay attention to that. Like, this is why they say, yo, we want music on everything. Put trending audio, this, that, and the third. I stopped using the trending audio because it's like, I can't connect that. I could use my own audio. I can use my trending audio. I can create trending audio, whereas original audio that becomes, no, I'd rather use music. I'd rather use my distributed music because now you have to push it for me. But that came from healing. That came from understanding that if I keep trying to go back to who I was before the shadow ban, I'm going to keep getting shadow banned. If I kept going back to the man I was before the heartbreak, I'm going to keep getting heartbroken because I kept doing the very things that led to that. Like, the decisions that I made up until that point led to that. That's when the healing changed. So I switched it and I'm like, all right, bet. Who am I supposed to be after this problem? Now let me envision myself in my pristine form, because I can become that. I can't go back to the old version of me and sustain myself, but I can become the newer version of who I'm supposed to be. And it starts with the mystery of envisioning that this is what I want. And now the healing journey is that entire path to become that person. And that's where, again, that's also where it gets hard and it gets easy to regress, because along that journey, you don't know how long it's going to take. You don't realize where the healing is coming from. You just realize that if I continue to do these particular things, do I learn these things about myself, I develop, I will become that person. How long is it going to take? How hard is it going to be? I don't know. It's a mystery. History is easier to deal with. And history is associated with trauma. Mystery is associated with euphoria. Euphoria is the only thing that can keep you going. Trauma is going to make you quit because you constantly remembering the past and giving up. And I know euphoria is what keeps you going. How do you find euphoria in what you don't know? You feel what I'm saying? It's all layered, bro. But this is why they keep traumatizing us as people, to make sure that we can't do this shit. We can't make sure that we can't really heal. Go to therapy to remind you of your pain and give you ways on how to cope with it, not to literally mentally tell yourself. I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap it up because this is one of the best examples that I've seen it. Tina Turner. When Ike was beating her ass, it was performed to the times before that he beat you and all of that shit. And she was, Christian woman, whatever the case may be. When Tina decided who she was going to be after the abuse, after healing from the abuse and shit like that, she fought this nigga in a limo. That wasn't the same Tina. The same Tina that would let him hit her and then just not do anything back to the motherfucking nigga. You ain't gonna do this shit no more. That's a whole different person. That's a whole different healing journey because it led her to something it led her into evolving out of something that doesn't exist anymore, which created the reality of the healing that led to the scar. And that's how you have to be when you want to heal for real. Start off with the envision of the mystery and saying, who do I want to be with this trauma? And now you can envision a better version of yourself. You can envision a person who's driving a certain way, this, then the third, vision boards, all of that shit. All of that shit. I say this in one of my jam sessions. I'm like, clear sight inside my mind. My visions don't need a board. This is why I said that shit. All of my gym sessions at Apollo Cafe flows are affirmations if you haven't picked up yet. But I listen to this shit to get me back right, to remember certain shit. But it's like, if your mind can't see that version of you and develop the path to get there, you'll never get there. You'll always go back to the path to that old version of you that led you back to the person who keeps getting wounded and can't scar himself and can't end up with scars. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure to eat their vegetables. And our kids, look, our kids are going to continually go through wild shit. Right? The world is just getting worse. And it's happening younger and younger. It's like, I always say this. Don't ask your kids who they want to be when they grow up. Ask them who they are right now. Because that's going to tell you who they're envisioning themselves to be. You feel what I'm saying? When we start telling them, oh, I want to be this when I grow up. Okay, cool. Who are you right now? Because you have to know if that's even the case. You feel what I'm saying? This isn't to discourage them because they could be whatever they want to be, but this is how you grow up to be whatever you want to be. Do you see what a seed plants? Do you see how the seed plants? They already planted in you right now as a kid to go ahead and have the mystery of what you want to be. And then you guide that. That's how healing works too. When you go through your traumas, when you go through your pains and you want to heal, envision who you want to be after the healing. And that's your healing journey. It ain't hard. Teach that to your kids and arm them with it early. Because when we arm our kids with it early and shit, we don't have to worry about them developing it later. Have to go through the wild shit that we learn late. Teach them early. Knowing that, when you go through trauma, who do you want to be after this trauma? Do you still want to be the victim, the traumatized motherfucker? Or, because some niggas want to be that. Some niggas literally want to be that. And that's what they become. But then some people want to be the victor. And I talk about this in So For 3 when I mention the tree of life. But you have the victim or the victor, the winner or the loser. You have to mentally decide what you want to do with the pain before you can start healing. And then you go into healing. You feel me? Because now you know, with this pain, I want to become this. And you become it. Some niggas already decide, fuck that. I'm going to go be a cold motherfucker. And what do? Their healing leads them to be a cold motherfucker. Or you can have the motherfucker who decides, I want to be a warm motherfucker. So the healing leads them to a warm motherfucker. But once they decide what they want to do with the pain and they can envision the person they want to become from that pain, now everything is possible. So now if we were learning these things as kids, by the time we get older and we start losing friends and we start losing family, we start losing loved ones and closer things, who do you want to be after that loss? Who do you want to become after that pain? Who do you want to be after that? It's already wired in you, so it becomes easier to do. Because now when you're able to stand on that pain and you're able to use that and vision the person that you want to be and now create the healing journey that requires you to use that in a positive way, you're now an alchemist and you transmute it. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all all on the next one. If I come back on another Impromptu or season 13 first, but we'll see. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.